Thank you very much for the welcome here at this event, and it is also wonderful to be in Japan for my very first time. I am the head of innovation for the United Nations World Food Program, and I want to tell you a little bit about the work that we do at the World Food Program, the problems we're trying to solve, and how we're using innovation and partnerships to address those problems. Okay. Oh, okay, very sophisticated. Okay, it's more technology than I'm used to. Okay. The World Food Program and the world has a very big problem to solve. There are 821 million people in the world that are still living in hunger. It is one of humanity's greatest problems. You can see that that amounts to 1 in 9 people in the world does not have enough food to eat or does not have the right quality of food to eat. And it is affecting over 3 million children each year who die because of malnutrition. The number of people hungry is actually rising. In the last 3 years, 4 years, we have seen 15 million people more that are affected by hunger. And so the question is, what do we as the world do about it? And here in Japan, I see that there is a lot of attention to the Sustainable Development Goals. And the Sustainable Development Goals, SDG 2, says that the world commits to ending hunger by 2030. And the problem is that if hunger is still rising, how are we actually going to end it by 2030? And so we know that hunger comes from many different sources. Hunger can come from a natural disaster, like a hurricane, a typhoon, a cyclone, an earthquake, and so on. Hunger also comes as a result of people who've been displaced because of conflict of some kind. That can be a war inside a state conflict. This is a picture of a refugee camp in Jordan with Syrian refugees. Hunger can also be a result of poverty, where people simply do not have enough money or food to eat, and they are not able to have the right nutrition when they are young. These children are all 9 years old, and the line above them is the average height globally of 9-year-old. And you can see how short they are because they have not received the right nutrition when they were young. And if you do not receive the right food, the right nutrition, when you are below 2 years of age, the first 2 years of life, you will never recover physically and you will never recover mentally. And this problem is costing the world millions of lives, and it costs the world trillions of dollars. The World Food Program is the largest humanitarian agency in the world. The World Food Program is an agency of the United Nations that is providing food assistance to people globally in 83 countries, between 80 and 100 million people each year. We have a very large physical supply chain. We have, at any point in time, we have 5,000 trucks that are delivering food, 90 aircraft, and many ships as well that are delivering food around the world. And we do that with thousands of partners. And we actually work in many different contexts. We work for emergency response after a disaster. We also work for long-term food insecurity in places that are affected by poverty. And we also provide services for the entire emergency international organization community, for aircraft, for emergency telecommunications, and for other logistics. I would say increasingly, we are also providing not just food, we are providing cash assistance. Because in many places where we work, we actually have functioning markets with retail stores that are available, and we give cash to people so that they can purchase food rather than importing food and delivering it. But back to our problem. Our problem is that we want to end hunger by 2030. And the problem is that hunger is not going down, it's actually rising. And we believe that we need new and innovative approaches to deal with this problem. Today, we have many tools available to us now that were not available even just a few years ago. And in Japan, you know that better than most people around the world. The kinds of technologies that are being developed here are things like artificial intelligence, robotics, blockchain, mobile technologies. These are technologies that are changing the world. And we believe they represent a major opportunity for us all to take advantage of them. There are new business models available also. The business models like, for example, crowdsourcing. We have a whole ecosystem of startups. We have sharing economy approaches. Many different ways of doing business because also of the new technologies. So the question for us is, how do we use these to really make a difference in our work? At the World Food Programme, we have created an innovation accelerator. An accelerator is something that would be very common to the people who work in here at Plug and Play. If you have a startup, you probably worked with an accelerator. An accelerator is a place that you go with your business to try to get more support. You meet people, you have coaches, you're challenged, you're focusing on the problem you're trying to solve and your plan. And this is a way of really increasing the value of businesses. For us, what we want is more value when it comes to our programs and the work that we do to end hunger. So we have created an innovation accelerator. It is based currently, we have one location currently in Munich, Germany, and it is a place where people can come and have programs, and I'm going to tell you about a few of those. So the accelerator, there are 5 different functions of the accelerator. The first is thought leadership. It is looking at what is happening around the world with new technologies, new business models, and identifying the things that can help us. The second is around innovation challenges, where we put challenges out to the world publicly to say, we want help with certain problems. We want help with innovations for refugees. We want help with innovations for small farmers, for new types of food production or things like that. And we do challenges globally around across the year. We also have innovation boot camps. These are 5-day programs that are very intensive. It is a program where we bring the teams who are working on innovations into the accelerator. We bring 10 teams at a time, and they work together as well as on their own projects. And in 1 week, they have a chance to really focus on the problem they're trying to solve and the plan going forward. Then we invite the participants who work in the boot camps, we invite them to participate in a sprint program where we can give a small amount of funding to the companies and the teams who are working on innovations to take it to a proof of concept. And for the proofs of concept that actually work, we support those innovations to scale in the organization. I've actually just spoken about all these slides. I'm just going to skip through. So at the moment, we are supporting 29 proofs of concept around the world. In total, across the last 3 years, we have actually supported 50 proofs of concept. But many of them will not work, so we decide to not support them any further. This is the current 29. Out of those, we have 8 projects that are currently in scaling in the organization. And I'll talk just briefly about a couple of them. One of them, which was mentioned by Naue already, is called Building Blocks. It is a blockchain program that has been introduced into one of our cash payment programs for refugees. And we previously required a financial service provider, like a bank, to provide a service for making cash payments to refugees. But with the introduction of a blockchain system, we actually do not need the bank participation anymore, which is saving us money when it comes to the programs. It is improving our accountability, and it is making the program more efficient and speed effective. That program is reaching 107,000 Syrian refugees in Jordan, and we have transacted over $30 million through the system successfully without any errors. The second innovation I wanted to mention is something called Impact, and this is working with refugees, again refugees from Syria, who have been out of school for a number of years. Many of them have never turned on a computer before. And we have been training them to work on digital skills that allows them to work remotely for companies around the world. So it is a way of allowing refugees who are displaced from their homes to basically provide services as self-entrepreneurs or employees of companies and do that remotely. So far, we have trained over 2,700 people. That number will be 5,000 by the end of 2019 in Lebanon and Iraq. 50% of the participants are women, and in the places where refugees are able to work, there is 100% employment. Another more non-tech or low-tech example is around hydroponics. Hydroponics is a different way of growing food without the use of soil. So it is plants grown essentially in water. And it's extremely water efficient. It uses about 90% less water than traditional agriculture. And we started using hydroponics in Algeria in the desert with a refugee population that lives there. And they wanted to use hydroponics not for human consumption, but for their animals. In this case, it was goats. And with a very simple system, in 7 days, you can grow barley, a kind of crop, up to about that high, and you can feed it to your goats. And we have seen 250% increase in milk production among goats in Algeria. We have over 400 hydroponic units now working in Algeria, Chad, Sudan, and Jordan. And by the end of 2019, we expect to be in 19 different countries. And the last innovation I want to mention is one that's a little bit different. This is not an innovation for programs. This is actually an innovation for people to be involved around the world in the fight against hunger. This is called Share the Meal. It is a smartphone app that is available globally, and it allows anyone with a credit card or PayPal account or Apple Pay or anything like that to provide a small amount of donation. So in this case, the minimum donation is 50 US cents that covers the cost of one child for 1 day in one of the World Food Programme's operations. With this app, we have raised $16 million so far. We have 1.3 million downloads, and we have a 4.9 star rating on the App Store. So it is something that can be used anywhere, and if you have not seen it, we have it translated into Japanese. It's available here. We encourage you to have a look. I'm going to leave that until after. So this is where I'm going to end for now and hand over to Kiori, who's going to introduce a colleague of ours live from Tanzania. And I will come back later and tell you more about how you can get involved with the Innovation Accelerator. Thank you.